So the word Devi is a singular or collective feminine noun, meaning that when one uses the word Devi, it can refer to one goddess in particular, or the idea of goddesses in general. So it can refer to one in particular or all goddesses. A word closely associated with Devi is the word Shakti. So all goddesses are seen as manifestations or expressions or emanations or faces of the same divine, feminine, creative, active energy. So there's this supreme sort of active, creative, feminine energy that is the core of the universe, and each goddess is an expression of that one Shakti, that one divine energy. The Devi or goddess can be depicted either as a consort of a god, and indeed there's a theological idea that a god needs her consort to be active and effective in the work he wants to perform, and he is incomplete without his god, his goddess or consort in a way. The goddess sometimes is shown as individual or autonomous. These might be goddesses that are seen as married to a god, or understood to be married, or the companion of a god. Yet sometimes she is depicted as alone, such as Saraswati, and we'll see some images of her quite alone. Other times, it's understood that the goddess, such as Durga or Kali, doesn't really have a consort or companion, and as such, she's often seen as having unbridled, limitless, even dangerous power, and it's through the association with the god in which this power is kind of managed, organized, and directed in a form which can be helpful and not overwhelming and hence dangerous. Yet even the individual goddesses who don't have a consort are seen as doing great work and using their extraordinary power to get rid of evil forces in the world that gods individually are not able to do. The goddess is often associated with different motherly attributes. And so kind of seen as a supreme mother, as being caring, as being a nurturing figure, so a nourisher, as well as being a protector. Different physical features in India are seen as expressions or manifestations or embodiments of the goddess. So we've already talked about and heard about rivers being associated or being an embodiment of a goddess. The country or land of India itself as being the expression of a goddess. Earth, or the soil you walk on, or the earth more generally, the entire planet, as being a sort of mother goddess, a mother nature, if you will. The dawn itself, so we saw Usha, the goddess of dawn, as well as speech, the act of vocalization, the act of utterance, as being Vak or Vach, a part of the feminine divine principle, expression of Shakti itself. So some examples of goddesses. So Durga. Durga is born from the radiance or teshas of all the gods. So all the gods in their radiance together produce Durga. This is her origin. And so it's understood she has the power and abilities of all gods, and she was produced by the radiance of all of them. Meanwhile, Kali, who was another individual autonomous goddess in among the Hindu pantheon, she springs from Durga's brow and embodies her rage. So Kali is a very fierce figure, as we'll see. So Durga, and there's a image of her, typical image or rendition of when she's depicted as a Murti image. She's always seen as serene and often golden. Her companion is often a lion or a tiger. Her emblems include the weapons of all the gods, and she's born of the radiance of all the gods. She has the emblems or symbols of power, having all the power of all the gods have. And she's able to achieve the defeat of demons, such as the buffalo demon Mahisha, in which other gods individually aren't able to do, since she has the power of all gods. This is part of the mythology within Hinduism. So this extraordinary buffalo demon, Mahisha, who is wreaking havoc on the earth, she's able to use her power from all the gods to defeat him and thus preserve cosmic order, preserve the regular functioning of the world and its preservation and harmony. And there you can see a Durga temple found in Kanaka or East India, and you can see different depictions of the goddess Durga. And within here, even though it's hard to see from everything being so golden, she would be up in this pagoda or temple-like structure itself as well. Here's a Durga temple in Calcutta, India. You'll be able to see a nicely done home video of the Durga Puja festival in 2014 on this link. So Kali is born out of the brow of Durga. She is the goddess in her fierce form. She's the destroyer of evil. She cuts away impediments to truth and divine service. And this is often embodied by showing her holding the heads of different demons in which she's destroyed and gotten rid of with her bloody sword. And she holds the heads of the different demons, and sometimes it's conceived as sort of the more egotistical aspects of self, and cuts away big-headedness or worrying about your own self-interest. Okay, so these things that work as veils to real spiritual advancement, she cuts away those things too, and allows one to understand and realize the truth and live a life of service to the divine. Even though she's very fierce, she opens her arms. She's seen as open armed to all those that love her. So still something of a motherly figure, even though a very fierce and scary looking one in her typical form. A more gentle, benign, sweet looking goddess compared to Kali is Lakshmi. Lakshmi is associated with Vishnu as the consort or wife of Vishnu, but once again she's sometimes shown individually and a goddess and supreme being alone in her own right. She's depicted as a radiant woman on a lotus flower, and she's the goddess of good fortune, of wealth, of generosity, beauty, and charm. So for example, if one wants to do well in business for the day, one might give an offering and prayer to Lakshmi in one's home or at a temple of Lakshmi that one might pass on the way to work, so one will do well in business. A way to honor her then, since she's the goddess of generosity, is in turn using some of the wealth one has gained in one's own life, been blessed by the goddess with, to give charitably to other people. Another popular goddess is Saraswati, sometimes pronounced as Saraswati. And this name, Sara, means the essence, and Swati means self. And so it's understood that through adoring her, she'll help you learn the essence of yourself, your core reality, your core being. Her name is also associated with a meaning that means plenty of water. Indeed, there is a a river that's for the most part now dried up and is understood to be underground now. The Saraswati River, which are mentioned and praised in the Vedas as a great river in which the parts of the Indus Valley civilization must have been built around. She's associated with river. She's seen as a goddess of the arts. Someone who's an artist might make her as their special patron and regularly adore her in acts of puja. She's the goddess of music, so once again, musicians might take her as their special patron. She's a goddess of learning, of knowledge, of wisdom. So one who wants to advance on the path of enlightenment, or even just do well and be a strong student, might give puja to her in particular. She's sometimes associated with the god Brahma, the creator god. Other times she's associated with the god Ganesh, and as we'll see, Ganesh has very similar attributes and abilities as Saraswati is often associated with. There are many temples in India dedicated to her. What's interesting is not just, say, fruit, sweets, nuts may be offered to her, but books might be offered to her in her different physical murti manifestations. So a book will be set before her on her altar, sometimes instruments as well, and this will bless learning and bless the acts of music playing in one's life. Now, on holidays dedicated to her, she will often be honored by adults and older children and youth, helping younger children, 4, 5, 6 years old, to begin to learn the alphabet, perhaps the English or Hindi alphabet. And often what they'll do is they'll have a plate of rice, and within the plate of rice, show the child how to use their finger to create different letters, such as think of English, an A or a B, to draw that out within the rice itself. And passing on the learning is a way to honor Saraswati on her holidays. But a game is made of it as it's a festive time. Last of our tour of main goddesses is Parvati. And Parvati is seen as the goddess of love, fertility, and devotion. So, patron goddess of marriages. If one wants to get pregnant, one might offer special devotion to her. And just being a devoted, loving spouse, she might be able to help with that as well. She is seen as very much, and as you can see in the pictures, a gentle and nurturing aspect of Shakti, in contrast to the fierce form of Kali. She, like the very gentle Lakshmi that we looked at, Saraswati, is seen as very gentle and nurturing, and very much a through and through motherly figure. She's also understood to be the recreative, or the just plain creative energy and power of Shiva, her consort. Though sometimes she's given other consorts associated with her, Shiva is most typically given as her consort, and Shiva cannot enact his power without his consort, Parvarti. He cannot create without Parvarti's help and own energy and power. The feminine is always the active principle associated with gods who are more or less seen as passive figures without the accompaniment of their wives, their consorts. So I've mentioned a couple times that sometimes goddesses are associated with different gods. Is she married to this guy or that guy? Which one? Why and how should this be confusing? Well, most likely the worship of an individual goddess arose on its own, and only later on did she become associated with another god who might be particularly worshipped or venerated in a certain locality. And so based on the popularization or depopularization of a certain god, or in the coming popularization of a goddess, she might be associated with another god who is popular at that time in that locality, and then the two become associated with one another as being consorts to one another. This is speculated by some scholars as being why there's no certainty about which one is married to which. You can see there Parvati accompanying Lord Shiva, very family, although she and he are often depicted individually. There's other family pictures of them. And so Parvarti, Shiva, their most famous son, Ganesha, and we'll look at Ganesha, and then another son who's often called Skanda, and probably was very popular at various eras within Hinduism, but is not as popular or as widespread popular as perhaps he once was. And then you see her in her individual form, accompanied by attendants